Hello. Hi, I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Danny, and we are your hosts.
You are listening to All About It Infant Mental Health.
In our podcast, we will explore all things infant mental health, child development, and family systems. We offer guests and have open conversations.
You'll also hear at the beginning and at the end of every podcast a disclaimer that states our podcast is not intended to replace professional or medical advice.
If you would please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. If this is your first time joining us, or you click to figure out who we are and what we are about, you're in the right spot.
We want to take a minute on this first introductory podcast to share a little bit about ourselves so you can feel like you're talking to people you know. My name is Tiffany. My career in children and families and in this arena has spanned my entire adult life. I started my career in Head Start as a teacher for an early childhood classroom that had a lot of behavioral problems and challenges. And I went from there to work at a children's psychiatric hospital as a mental health technician with children ranging from 3 up to 18. I learned a lot and became very curious about why some kids struggle more than others. This was at the very beginning of my career, and I didn't have a real clear understanding about that. Working there helped a lot. I went from there, I became a CASA volunteer for many years. I also led and was directed several Head Starts. I then went on to, I have to think because I'm old. Let's see. After that, I worked for Children's Division for quite a while in Missouri as a case manager. Through all of those things, it's given me a very, very rounded picture of some of the struggles that children and families go through. One of the things that I am extremely passionate about is early childhood development, infant mental health, which is an area that a lot of people just don't talk about and don't recognize. The preschool years, the importance of those years, and what happens during those years. I currently work as a supervisor for a home visiting program that works with children and families from a very young age, sometimes prenatally. And they go in and they work with those families on a week-to-week basis on parenting skills, curriculum, resources in the community, and of course, mental health.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. I'm Danny, and it's been an absolute pleasure to join Tiffany along this journey. My background is in early childhood, special education, social work, and mental health. In my current role, I'm actually a child therapist. I work with ages 0 to 21, but I tend to specialize in 0 to 5. My primary clientele in my role right now are children who are considered at risk. Many of them are in and out of the foster care system. A lot of them come from very low income homes. In my past lives, I worked as a paraeducator, kind of working from the ground up in early childhood special education classrooms. At one point, I was a teacher within an inclusive classroom wherein half of my students were neurotypical, but those children came from low income homes. And then the other half of the children that I served were wheelchair bound. They had very, very low functioning autism, cerebral palsy, spina bifida, you name it, I've seen it. I've also supervised a statewide team of mental health crisis responders within the foster care system. I've totaled working 7 years with special needs kids, 10 years doing foster care work. Currently, I supervise an outpatient mental health team within a nonprofit agency. I work with families and caregivers of all kinds, same-sex couples, grandparent, guardians, aunts and uncles who are raising children, even big sisters, big brothers who are raising their younger siblings. So I've kind of seen it all. My passion is comorbidities. A lot of what drives me is being the voice for children that might fall in crack, children who the first early years, they were deprived of attention or attachment or the tools that they needed to be successful and to develop to their greatest capabilities. So I try as hard as I can to get resources to those children or the family so that those children can thrive and grow and have a chance. That's me.
Danny, you said something about your passion was, and I think you said morbidity. Can you share what that is?
Comorbidities. So, comorbidities is kind of a combination of things. So, with someone who has comorbidities, it would be a mental health diagnosis, but also a delay or a disabilities. Let's take, I know of an adult woman who has schizophrenia, but she also has a traumatic brain injury. So, that would be an example of a comorbidity. But she also has trauma, severe sexual trauma, victim of domestic violence. So, now you have a grown adult woman who has PTSD, trauma on her brain, and then a mental health diagnosis. So she does qualify for disability, but when you have a child, I mean, they're really at risk. So
Mm,
that is my
yeah,
passion, those
yeah.
kiddos.
And I'm just so excited to have Danny on board. This has been a dream of mine for a while, and it really needed the expertise of a therapist, even though we're not giving therapeutic advice, but just to have that knowledge and that background. So I just want to take a minute and thank you for joining me on this crazy journey. We are not super tech savvy, so it's been a road. We've learned a lot already, and I suspect we have a lot to learn yet. But what we do have is passion for infant mental health. We have passion that aligns and a passion that's slightly different. And I think that's what's going to make this podcast so interesting and so exciting for people that are listening. And, it is not really designed to be a feel good, happy podcast on every episode. We try to inject humor. If you talk to social workers, that's a big part. Working in the field we work in is to try to keep our sense of humor. So we will absolutely be dipping into that throughout our episodes. However, our episodes are probably going to be serious, deep topics that people want to talk about and don't maybe have a platform to talk about it on. So it's just been a very exciting opportunity for us for both of our careers, which are very different and yet very passionate in the same direction. So for us, it really was a natural step to start a podcast or start a platform that we can offer blog things on and get feedback from people.
Right. And I'm so excited to learn from you, Tiffany. A lot of times I'm getting children after they've already been exposed to trauma. Their parents have not yet asked for help or it's too late. So trauma has incurred, a delay has shown up. Teachers have sent a referral. So it's really eye opening to consider preventative care and reaching out to those mothers before something happened. I'd say that within this podcast is going to be our goal to kind of normalize those challenges within family systems. Like you said, it's not going to be always happy go lucky. We'll joke, we'll play, but we're going to talk about taboo subjects. We're going to talk about depression within mothers and postpartum depression. That's a really tough topic. A lot of women feel that shame. We're going to talk about different parenting styles. What do you do when you don't agree
Right.
with your ex or your child's other parents? We're going to talk about blended families. That's going to be a huge topic with us. We're going to talk about prenatal, perinatal, postnatal mental health. We're going to speak openly about infant and child development and many other topics. Tiffany's probably going to bring in a lot of infant mental health and infant and mother attachment issues. Talk about breastfeeding, formula feeding, Black maternal mental health, and other challenges facing Black, Brown, and Indigenous populations.
I think that's the big thing for us in this podcast is that we want to bring up topics that people tend to have society's bias that they shouldn't talk about it, or talking about it makes you a weak mother or not a strong caregiver. What about dads? Dads get missed a lot in the conversation, and we want to lift up dads and male and fathers. There's just a lot of areas that we want to deep dive into. So we are super excited. Our next episode is going to be on intentional time. It's a lighter topic, but a very important topic. It's something that gets overlooked a lot with the economy the way it is today and time. So we have a family support specialist that's going to be a guest, and she's going to just share some information on intentional time. So I think that's going to be wonderful. One of the things we'd like to do is end each episode with a quote. I have one chose for today. It is by John Whitehead, and it is, "Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see." And isn't that true? So much of the work that Danny does and that I do and that my team does is with children that are very young. Most of the work that I've already done is with children that I'll never see as adults. And yet we know from research and studies how extremely important it is that the seeds that we're planting and the information that we're sharing and the feedback that we get from you, that is what's going to really make our platform successful and impactful is the listeners and you getting on our blog and reading some of our blog posts and adding your experiences for other people to read. It's an opportunity to share and learn and express. We also want to take a minute and thank Todd from Apples and Arrows, which is a dear friend of Danny's, and we're so thankful for his help in getting our podcast and our website up and going. Apples and Arrows is located in Wichita, Kansas, and it's a marketing and advertising company that partners with their clients to uncover and develop ideas that engage the head and minds of their prospective audiences. So again, it always takes a village, whether you're raising children or you're trying to start a podcast. It always takes more than one. So this started with just a thought in my mind, and it would not already be what it is without Danny and without people like Todd that are willing to help new podcasters. Danny,
Of course.
do you have anything else, Danny, before we sign off?
No, I think that's it. I think this is going to be really fun.
All right. We'll plan to see everybody next time. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe.